The American Pit Bull Terrier is a standardized registered breed with its own written standard, going back to 1898. But pit bull, the phrase everyone actually uses, was never meant to refer to that breed alone. In the mouths of journalists, lawmakers, and animal control officers, it became a catch-all for an entire family of stocky, block-headed dogs. The American Staffordshire Terrier, the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, the American Bulldog, and any mixed-breed dog that happens to resemble them. That gap between one specific breed and a loosely applied umbrella term is the reason this dog has been simultaneously beloved, banned, and blamed for statistics that were never really about it in the first place. Start with the word pit. In 1835, the British Parliament passed the Cruelty to Animals Act, outlawing bull baiting, a blood sport where dogs were set on tethered bulls in front of paying crowds. For centuries, breeders in England had been refining a dog for exactly that job. The Old English Bulldog, built low, wide-jawed, and fearless enough to clamp onto an animal many times its size. When the sport was banned, that investment in breeding didn't disappear. It moved indoors, into pits, and it changed targets, from bulls to other dogs. Breeders crossed their bulldogs with terriers, chasing a combination of the bulldog's gameness and grip with the terrier's speed and aggression toward other animals. The result was the Bull and Terrier, smaller, faster, and built for a fighting pit rather than an open baiting ring. That's the actual origin of the name. It has nothing to do with temperament and everything to do with a banned sport's new venue. Those Bull and Terriers crossed the Atlantic with English, Irish, and Scottish immigrants through the second half of the 19th century, and in America, the dog's job changed again. Dog fighting followed, but so did farm work. These dogs were used as catch dogs for managing semi-wild hogs and cattle as all-purpose guardians, and, critically, as family dogs. The United Kennel Club, founded in 1898, registered its very first dog under the breed name American Pit Bull Terrier, the moment the breed became formally defined with a written standard and traceable pedigrees, rather than just a type of working dog. The American Kennel Club followed decades later with a closely related line under a different name, the American Staffordshire Terrier, partly to distance the breed from the fighting associations still clinging to the word pit. Staffordshire Bull Terriers, bred in England along a parallel line, and American Bulldogs, a separate working breed descended from the same Old English Bulldog stock, would later get folded into the same public umbrella, despite having their own distinct standards and registries. By the early 20th century, this dog had become something close to a national mascot. Sergeant Stubby, a stray of pit bull type adopted by American soldiers in the 172nd Infantry Regiment during the First World War, served through 17 battles, learned to detect incoming gas attacks before his human counterparts could, and returned home to a hero's reception, including a meeting with President Woodrow Wilson. Helen Keller kept one as a companion. Theodore Roosevelt kept one at the White House. And when Hollywood needed a dog loyal and expressive enough to anchor a comedy franchise, they chose Petey, the ring-eyed pit bull of the Little Rascals, arguably the most recognizable dog in American film before Lassie. Advertisers of the era used the breed constantly as a symbol of trustworthiness. Historians of the breed often point to this period, roughly the 1900s through the 1930s, as the era when the dog was informally nicknamed the nanny dog in American households, prized specifically for its patience with children. So what changed? Not the dog's genetics. What changed was the media environment around it. And that shift has a fairly precise starting point: the 1980s. A handful of high-profile, heavily reported attacks, some genuinely involving pit bull-type dogs, some involving dogs later misidentified by police or reporters with no training in breed identification, triggered a wave of press coverage that snowballed through the decade. Sports Illustrated ran a 1987 cover story literally titled, "Beware of this dog." Time magazine followed with its own alarmist coverage the same year. The word pit bull stopped functioning as a breed description and started functioning as a threat category, applied loosely to any muscular, short-haired dog with a blocky head, regardless of its actual ancestry. This is the same pattern that would repeat with Rottweilers a few years later and decades on with the XL Bully, a demonstrated cycle where a handful of incidents produce a media panic that outruns the underlying data. Legislators responded to the panic, not the evidence. Britain passed the Dangerous Dogs Act in 1991, naming the American Pit Bull Terrier as one of 4 types banned outright from ownership, breeding, or sale. A law rushed through Parliament in a matter of weeks after a spate of tabloid coverage, and one that veterinary and legal scholars have criticised ever since for its central flaw. It bans dogs based on physical resemblance to a type, not on documented ancestry or behaviour. Owning a dog that merely looks enough like a banned type is sufficient for prosecution in Britain, even with no history of aggression whatsoever. The United States never adopted a national ban, but hundreds of individual cities and counties passed their own versions of breed-specific legislation through the 1990s and 2000s, some of which have since been repealed after data reviews found no measurable public safety benefit. The data problem sits at the center of the entire debate, and it starts with that same umbrella. Visual breed identification, a person looking at a dog and guessing its breed, has been tested repeatedly against DNA results, and it fails constantly. Shelter workers, veterinarians, and even breed experts misidentify mixed breed dogs as pit bulls at high rates. So, when an incident report logs a dog as a pit bull, it's rarely checking pedigree papers against the UKC standard. It's a visual guess that could just as easily describe an American Staffordshire Terrier, a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, an American Bulldog, or any short-haired mixed breed dog with a broad head. Every one of those gets counted under a single label, which means the actual American Pit Bull Terrier absorbs the statistical weight of several distinct breeds and countless mixes it may share nothing more than a general silhouette with. The American Veterinary Medical Association has stated plainly that breed is a poor predictor of aggression compared to factors like an individual dog's history, health, and how it was raised and managed by its owner. That conclusion led the UK to attempt something different in 2023, banning the XL Bully specifically, and immediately running into the same enforcement confusion that plagued the 1991 law, because XL Bully describes a size and build, not a documented bloodline. Which brings the story back to where it started. This has never really been a story about a dangerous dog. It's a story about a banned sport that needed a new dog, a media cycle that needed a villain, and a legal system that has spent almost 2 centuries legislating against an appearance rather than an animal. The dog bred to grip a bull in 1834, and the dog banned by name in 1991 are connected by ancestry, certainly. But the fear attached to it was built by people, one newspaper headline and one rushed law at a time.